And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the beloved Kyber Empire. It's great to be in the Empire today. I'm yours truly, the Emperor Arnold T101 of the Kyber Empire, king of triple B games of the end of the multiverse of video gaming realm and many other titles. But today here at Arnold Holiday News, AHN, the only news you'll ever need, because you have no other choice. We have breaking news coming from the video gaming division here, talking about something that, oh boy, it sparks a lot of controversy. Good old Shuri. It's on pretty much guaranteed. A nerf is coming, but what we do have right now are a couple of minor nerfs, couple of minor buffs, because they're not satisfied where the meta is. But more importantly, what I'm interested in, they talk about the future of frequent balance changes. And the hope that I'm having is that we're going to see lesser used cards become a little bit more usable on a more frequented basis, because right now it feels like it's a little bit slow with how the meta pushes around. Let's go bring you guys on over and show you what we're cooking with. I just want to say this. I know a lot of people are like, how is she dodging another nerf? I mean, it's basically guaranteed that she's going to have some changes done here. But for me personally, how is Leech keep dodging a bullet? It's actually funny. I want to show this first. I was playing some Marvel Snap yesterday, and you guys might know my name is Leech equals trash. But I went up against an opponent whose name is Cool Leech Nerd, and we had a bonding moment where we both bro fist each other at the same exact time. All my homies know we all hate Leech, so I'm surprised Leech keeps getting past the Ritter. It's such a dumb, it defeats the point of playing the game, basically. I digress, but the memes are pretty funny in regards to Shuri. She can't keep getting away with it. So just to clarify, the nerf isn't happening now, but basically they're saying there's gonna be some big changes happen. They might undo some of the damage done by Shuri that they've done to Red Skull. So let's go show you guys what we have cooking here. So first thing on the radar, let's go over. I'm not going to go too much into the dev insight because it kind of makes sense what they're trying to do, and it's not like significant. Mostly power reductions on Sunspot, Red Skull, and minor changes to Shadow King and Sentry, which we'll talk about if it's really going to be a good change or not. But here we go. Red Skull is getting dropped from 5 cost to 13 power to 5 cost 12 power. So knocking off another power. Remember, it used to be 515 and they reworked the ongoing effect. Now they're just dropping it down a power. And as I said, we've adjusted Red Skull to weaken specific to interaction with Shuri and Taskmaster. However, they're still feeling like it's still a little bit too powerful. But as they say here clearly, we recognize Shuri is clearly the true offender, and we want to have, and we have. It's not we are thinking we might. They have a balance change for Shuri ready to go. However, that change to Shuri needs to be patched, needs a patch to be implemented, so likely next month. We can't make it via OTA over the air, so basically an update where you don't have to go to the App Store and update the game. So this is an interim adjustment to weaken Shuri deck just a bit more. We do expect Shuri to remain viable after this Red Skull tweak, but we don't want to drastically nerf multiple innocent cards when we have an incoming nerf. And furthermore, you might be wondering, well, if they're going to nerf Shuri, are they going to undo the damage they've done? Yes. Once that change to Shuri's live, they're going to revert this, or maybe the previous Red Skull change. Maybe Red Skull will go back to 515 with the ongoing effect they had before. Maybe they're not sure about that, but we're going to give that some time because we'd rather ensure a larger shift in the meta game. Sunspot, I'm glad they didn't change anything too much with the actual effect. They're bringing it from a 1 cost 1 power, dropping it down to a 0 power card. So you're starting off with nothing at the very beginning. At the start of each turn, gain +1 power for each unspent energy. So the good thing they're not touching, it's the most played early, and not even just early game card. It's one of the most played cards in the game. Sunspot, as they even said, Sunspot's the most heavily played cards in the game. The why is obvious. Very early on, you get him. It works with a bunch of different cards, and it feels bad having leftover energy, right? It's a great way of soaking it up. So they're saying in general, it's just going to be a minor nerf, creating a space for less played cards. Is it? I don't know. Time will tell. Losing 1 power isn't the biggest thing in the world. I was worried that they were going to change it to it only gets half the unspent energy, which would be kind of crappy. So they didn't really do much about that. As a default card in both Shuri and Thanos, this change does impact those stats a bit more than others too. But all right, I'm more interested in buffs. I would rather see cards get buffed and then get nerfed. Gary, you could at least tell me to zoom in a little bit more for these folks. Goodness, hopefully you guys brought your tactile scanners to read these. I'm more interested in changes to make cards better. I want to see more cards being played. You know, I think that's the one way of helping the meta get a little bit more diverse. One thing they're doing is Shadow King. Unfortunately, Shadow King, not much heard about it. One, hard card to get. We already talked about series drop problems. you know, it's hard to get excited when people can't test drive cards or when they're hard to get. Shadow King was one of them. And I'm going to explain this. They think it's going to make it more playable. They even said it should be used against Shuri decks. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Shadow King's whole purpose is to fight against exactly the kind of thing that Shuri's doing. Hold on. We'll get there. But this card simply released too weak to be a consideration for most decks. I guess to be fair, wasn't this released around the time of Zabu being decent? Or close to it, right? And then if they didn't make the significant changes to Zabu, we may have seen Shadow King be a little bit more usable. But after the Zabu nerfs, it was really hard to get it to be as useful. We recognize his status as a Series 4 card that's used to answer powerful decks rather than fuel them. Might limit his potential to impact the metagame. However, we're happy to just give him some sort of boost to see where things land. So here's my issue. Cool, it's 3 costs. That's not 100% the problem. It's very niche. Not every deck is ramping up power and you need to set it to its original base power. Issue is the on reveal portion. They said it should be used against the Shuri deck. Is it though? The problem is when people are playing Shuri, turn 3 Cosmo, turn 4 Shuri, Red Skull goes behind the Cosmo, and then you put the Taskmaster behind the armor. So that's the issue. You can't reset the power of Red Skull if you're stuck behind a Cosmo. Now, maybe you can do it to the Taskmaster if you go second. So that's something you gotta consider. You gotta make sure you don't have priority going into a match. So I don't think if it was like maybe just an effect, it just works like Daredevil. There's no ongoing, there's no on reveal. Maybe we'd see a little bit more play action. But I think the problem is the on reveal is also a limiting factor to all this. Yes, this might be one of those cards that, you know, you might get a little bit more play with the 3 costs. The other problem is just not a lot of people have it. Kind of like this next card here is a little bit of a issue. So I tried so hard. I put a card in the top right-hand corner. We did a lot of sentry testing when I unlocked it during one of the past series drop. Boy, is it a rough card to make work. Obviously, the most prominent interaction is to get the Viper to kick over the void that it creates. And, you know, sometimes you eat up the void with Carnage or whatever the case might be. Or you might go use Valkyrie on it. Only a few ways to really take advantage of the void. Well, what they're doing now is they're increasing the power of 410. So basically like a Typhoid Mary. And I remember a lot of the comments when I was testing, like, hey, what do you think about increasing the power? I don't know if that would really solve all the problems at Bay. But what they're doing is, although they're increasing the power of Sentry, they're also technically decreasing the power of the negative void. So it's minus 10 power. So if it's stuck on your side, it's crappier. But the goal is you're going to kick that over with Viper. And a minus 10 power, it's basically like sending over a Hobgoblin. You got to think of Sentry, it's 2 cards. So it's almost like a Typhoid Mary combined with the possibility of a Hobgoblin. That's where the incentive is, but you got to do something to that void in order to get it over there. So, you know, I think this is a little bit more impressive than Shadow King, honestly. Sentry's a card that just hasn't found a great home yet. Yep. While these number changes aren't an obvious impactful buff, it does increase the potential reward for running Sentry and the potential damage for donating the void with Viper. This is a change that we've been interested in trying out. I'm happy to see it. I don't know if it's a significant change. I feel like some of the changes, like the buffs, you know, not all of them are great. You know, occasionally we get some really good, like Sandman was a really good buff. This, I think, is the more important thing. The balanced future. And I mostly want to talk about this as well as how many changes are they going to be doing? How many cards are going to get changed? This is pretty nuts. Speaking of changes, they're trying out something new. About the balancing of Marvel Snap in the future, starting with an upcoming April patch, currently for April 18th, so 12 days away. We'll be making weekly changes to cards again. Weekly changes, not bi-weekly, not monthly, weekly changes. So basically stuff like we're seeing here that can be done over the air without a forced update, and then every month they'll have you do the forced update. That's gonna be for like the new season likely. Our patch every 4 weeks will continue to release on Tuesdays and include card updates as well. But the intervening weeks will each feature changes going live on Thursday via OTA over the air. We know this is just the sort of balanced attention and prioritization that many have you clamored for. So thanks for your passionate feedback. It's been a multi-team effort to get this process buttoned up over the last month. And we hope you're as excited as we are. I'm excited to see, you know, it seems like it's mostly minor stuff that they do, but sometimes even the most minor things can make a big change. I don't know if Shadow King and Sentry are the best example, but who knows? We can skip that. Why Thursdays? So here's some things they have. What kind of changes will we make? The tools give them the ability to make changes within about a week or two, but it's limited in what we can change. So I'm guessing, again, minor power changes, cost changes. We're continuing to develop the tool and expand its limitations, but for now you can expect weekly Thursday changes to be numbers only like the one above. Pretty simple stuff. I think it'll be nerfing or buffing cards. Ahaha! As you can see with the Sentient Shadow King, we do intend to buff cards through OTA. In fact, we're going to guarantee Guarantee, my friends, at least one buff in each of these updates. We'll also use this method to balance the metagame with nerfs, but only when it's deemed necessary. And their target is about 2 to 4 cards will be getting changed. So maybe 1 buff and 2 nerf, to 3 nerfs, 1 nerf. On patch weeks, it's possible to change even more, as that's a unique access point for us. How will we pick what cards get changed? This is actually kind of big. We have a list of buffs and very small list of nerfs. I like to know that there's more buffs than nerfs on the radar, that we're continuing, that they're making existing content. We're prioritizing them based on how we expect individual changes to affect the metagame, or even combined with new cards and locations. So when they're, let's say, you know, they're releasing high evolutionary, they might want to do some quick buffs to some cards and make them a little bit more prevalent without having to wait a whole entire month. And why not just make all those changes now? One of the things we're wary with balance patch is how much change is too much. We've avoided changing more than a handful of cards at a time for a while now, and we think that's a good thing because they're easier to digest. I agree. Plus, placing out these changes lets us to lightly refresh the meta periodically. Yeah, you know, sometimes it gets boring after a whole month of being leeched or shuried or all that other stuff. And they said they have a trial period for May, and depending on how it goes, when we continue onward, we're optimistic. So there you go. I think really it's the balance thing that's more impressive to me. I still think people are going to still play Red Skull. Wow, whoop-de-doo, 2 power technically getting knocked off when you Shuri. You know, it's still going to be a very powerful 24 power Red Skull is still kind of a big boy. The drop onto field Sunspot, it's a minor nick. I don't think it's a big deal. You know, we'll see. I want more useless cards to be useful. And that's what I'm excited for with this balance change. Will we see Shadow King and company get a little bit better? I suppose time will tell, y'all. But I want to thank you for all the time that you spent here with me. It truly means a lot here in Auto Hellnet News to have your patronage, to have your loyalty. Because without you, how are we 25-8 for one extra day of partying and dominating hard? It's tough stuff. Leave that like, comment down below, and all your beautiful thoughts. Be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today.
Oh, it's great to be in the Empire today. The sun never sets.